What's going on, everyone? It is John and Mike back again for another news show. Honestly, you just think that we'd get bored of this, wouldn't you? You think that we would just be like, we're not going to keep doing this, we're not going to keep churning out the content, but we are, because you guys love it at the minute. You absolutely love it. And John's there. Looks like he's got some makeup on. Don't quite know what he's done, but he looks like he's got some makeup on.
I've got me lights on.
He's got his lights on, whereas I look like a fucking cockatoo. So
you love a cockatoo.
Brilliant. It's a bit rich from you in the Hill Dickey Stadium, which has had its capacity reduced today by 119 seats. I mean, honest to God. John, look, let's start with some of the rumours today. Ndidi from Leicester, £9 million has been linked with a move to Everton. You happy with that?
Yeah, I know we lost to Corey, and listen, we were one of Corey's biggest critics on this channel. We were ready for him to go. He'd been there long enough, and I think it was time for both parties to go their separate ways. And we did thank Corey for what he'd done for us for the time that he was here. And he didn't offer us much to Corey in the majority of the games, in my opinion. But what he offered us was an engine in the midfield. And we've got a Gisagana guy who can do that, but he's not getting any younger and he still hasn't signed the contract. Alcaraz doesn't really have much of an engine compared to the likes of Garner guy, to Corey and Ndidi. James Garner doesn't give you that. Tim possibly gives you a bit of that, but Tim has got more of everything, I think. So the likes of Ndidi to come into the midfield, again, we keep saying it on this channel with the players that we're linked with. You can see why we're being linked with these players for the way David Moyes wants Everton to set up next season. For £9 million, I'd have Ndidi at the club in a heartbeat. He'd give us the engine. He can break down play. He can help the defence back. He can also carry the ball forward. He's got the odd goal in him. And Ndidi's quite an all-round midfielder for me. So for £9 million, I think it's a no-brainer for the position we're in at the minute, needing bodies in. For £9 million, as I say, I think it'd be a good bit of business by Everton.
Yeah, we've been linked with Ndidi, God knows how many times, to be honest. And part of me thinks this is just lazy journalism. It's just a name. But I do genuinely think this is probably the sort of player we need. He's got Premier League experience. He's not young, so he knows the league. He's a decent footballer. Can't say he's not. He was linked heavily a few years ago with some big money moves. I seem to remember him. Was it Arsenal he was linked with? I can't quite remember, but he was linked with some big moves. So, look, he's a player that I'm certainly not against. You're right, he breaks down play, he carries the ball. He can pretty much play the ball across that line, that midfield.
He's strong as well, isn't he? In possession of the ball, he's the sort of midfielder who we're looking at, who is not pushed off the ball easy, who can carry the ball forward, as we say, and he's strong in play with the ball, and he'll always look to make that forward pass, which obviously inadvertently, the way Everton want to play, gets you further up the field. And he's the sort of player as well who, when he picks the ball up, he takes the pressure off the defence, because he's one of them players where he'll try and turn defence into attack quite quickly.
Yeah, he also is the type of person that he strikes me as a commanding presence in the middle of the park. And I think one of the things that I think we've been guilty of over the last few years is we haven't really got a leader in the middle of the park, if you get what I mean. And we haven't for quite a while. If you go back to, say, Thomas Gravison, Mikel Arteta, Tim Cahill, you had players there that would moan and talk and scream and shout a little bit. Maybe Gareth Barry as well, and you sort of progress through. But I think in the centre of that park, we haven't had loads of...
we've missed the voice, haven't we? We've missed the vocal a vocal player in the middle of the park. Listen, the Idrissa Gana guy does what he's good at, but he's not in the referee's ear. James Garner doesn't really do much. Tim doesn't. We haven't seen enough of him to see whether he's that sort of player. But when you look at what Ndidi's done when he's played for Leicester and he's played for the clubs in the past, and we've seen him in the Premier League, he's that vocal player in the middle of the park that you need to get in the referee's face, to challenge decisions, to get the rest of the team going. It's an important part of the pitch. We all know that. And I think he's the vocal person that we're possibly missing.
Yeah. The other person that we've been linked with today in the centre of midfield is Sean Longstaff. And again, we've been linked with Sean Longstaff for a long, long time. Newcastle midfielder. Again, bit of a walk ball winner. Plays the ball across the park. Probably known as being a sort of centre mid. Can do, the defensive work, but can also do, he can carry the ball. He's only got a year left on his contract, is my understanding. So I don't think he would cost Everton a lot of money, but it's how good people think that he's going to be. His injury record hasn't been outstanding. He made 25 appearances for Newcastle in various guises last season, in terms of, substitute appearances and whatever else. He also, as you know, his brother plays football professionally as well. So I like Sean Longstaff, and I have done for a long time. I think he is a very able-bodied central midfielder. The only thing that I have concerns around is what you said earlier. And you said earlier, I feel like James Garner is better. And that worried me, because if that is your opinion, and let's be realistic, you don't have a huge opinion on James Garner, there's going to be lots of Everton fans that agree with you, John. I'm not saying you're wrong by any stretch of anyone's imagination. So,
It's just my opinion on another player that we'll link with. And listen, I hope they are just links again, because I don't see how Sean Longstaff improves us. I don't think he's any better than James Garner. I don't think he comes in and pulls up any trees. I actually don't think he improves the midfield. I don't think he's what we're looking for going forward. Again, you highlight his injury record. That's not great. And as you said, we've been linked with him for quite a while. I just open his links. I hope it's lazy journalism yet again, because for me, I wouldn't be standing on the rooftop shouting his name out if we signed a Sean Longstaff. It really doesn't bother me if this is just lazy journalism and the rumours quickly go away.
I was just comparing James Garner and Matty Longstaff on Transfer Market. I tend to have a little look. James Garner's valued 18 million. Sean Longstaff is valued at 20. So nothing in it. Injury records. James Garner, he has worse injury records than Sean Longstaff. Sean Longstaff misses about a month a season, whereas James Garner statistically has been off a lot more than that over the last 2 years. So
Sean Longstaff only misses a month of the season because he hardly plays.
He missed this one because of injury. You fucking space cadet.
Yeah, but what did he do before that? Did he play much before that?
He played 20. He actually played 32 times in all competitions last season.
How many of them are off the bench?
I don't know.
I just don't see the hype about him. I really don't. And listen, everyone's got their opinions on players. My opinion on Sean Longstaff is he doesn't improve us. He's not good enough to take us to where we want to be, and he's no better than what we've got.
Okay, fair enough. So in terms of the midfield, Ndidi, Longstaff, we've been linked with both of them. Do you think going for that sort of midfielder is what we need? That 8, that 6, that type of either ball carrying midfielder or that ball breaking midfielder. Do you think we've got enough? Is what I'm saying. We've gone to signing a new deal. Tim there James Garner there. You've also got Harrison Armstrong there. Or do you want to see a big marquee signing in that area?
Well, you've got Alcaraz there. He's signed in now as well. But when you mention the players that you mentioned, we've been screaming out for years on this channel that we needed a ball carrier midfielder. Now, when you look at the players who we've got at the club at the minute, Alcaraz looks to go forwards, but can he do it consistently? Alcaraz doesn't have much pace, in my opinion, to be that ball carrier midfielder. Idrissa Gana Gueye is not really the ball carrier midfielder. I don't know what James Garner gives us. And we haven't seen enough of Tim to know if he's a ball carrier midfielder or not, because he's been plagued by injury. I think Ndidi comes in and will give us more as a ball carrier midfielder than what we've got at the club at the minute.
See, I think Ndidi is more like a Garner replacement. Like a 6, like a centre.
I think he's a better all-round player, Ndidi, and that's not slagging Gana Gueye off, because I love Gana Gueye. Everyone knows that. I just think Ndidi is a better all-round player. We know what we get with Gana Gueye.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, for me, I mean, we disagree. I think Ndidi is literally Gana Gueye. I think if you bring in Ndidi, you still need a ball carrying midfielder for me, because my vision of a ball carrying midfielder is a player that can get from defence to attack and score, up to 10 goals a season. Ndidi doesn't do that. I don't think Ndidi scored last season.
Yeah, he was playing for Leicester. Fucking hell, how many goals did they score anyway?
Well, no, but I mean, Ndidi doesn't score goals. He just doesn't score goals. So for me, if you're looking to solve that situation, I get bringing Ndidi in, and I'm all for it. I just think you need another one as well.
We're going to need another one, aren't we? Because if you bring Ndidi in and he's got the goal scoring stats that you've just come out with, how many goals does Gana Gueye score? How many goals do you get from James Garner? How many goals are you going to get from Charlie Alcaraz over the season? Possibly 3, 4.
Yeah.
So if we do get Ndidi, we're going to need a ball carrying, scoring midfielder, if you know what I mean. A ball carrier midfielder who can score quite a few goals from that position of the pitch as well. When was the last time we had someone like that, Michael? We've screamed out for it. We said before, we've screamed out for it. You know what you get with Ndidi. You don't get many goals. So we are going to have to bring someone in if we bring Ndidi in, which, if you're David Moyes and you're looking at how many goals he scores and how many goals you've actually got from our centre of the park anyway, you probably don't bring someone like Ndidi in, because you need that ball carrier midfielder who's capable of scoring your goals as well.
Yeah, and that's the point I make. Are you going to sign 2? And the other thing is, then you start to get a little bit congested with the players you've got, because I know you put Alcaraz in the midfield, whereas I don't. I put him as a 10, so I put him just off a striker. You put him a little bit further back. You put him as like an 8, I think, to be fair. And I get that, by the way. I'm not saying that's wrong. So the point I make is, unless you're going to either play 3 in that midfield, or you're going to lose one of your defensive players to add a more attacking player, which I don't think David Moyes will do, I think you create a problem. The fact we've signed Alcaraz means, in my mind, that Moyes is going to go for like a 4-2-3-1 formation, and he'll have 2 sort of, one defensive midfielder and one slightly carrying the ball type, ball carrying midfielder, someone who can pass forward, which is why I think he likes James Garner. I think he likes the fact that James Garner occasionally, very occasionally, will pass the ball forward. I don't think James Garner, if we bring in another midfielder, will play very much next season. I just don't. I think he'll play. I just think he'll play less.
So, you say we start to look overcrowded, but when you look at the players we've lost, and actually the size of what the squad is and what it's going to be come the 30th of June, you're going to need squad players as well. Is Alcaraz just going to be a player who plays every now and again? You know, is James Garner's nose going to get pushed out? Are we going to see Tim consistently next season? Is he going to be another player who we just use from the bench? I don't know, because I just think going forward, where we want to be, I keep saying that because this is a massive summer for Everton and it's a massive season next season. We need better than James Garner. You know, if we bring 2 midfielders in, mate, I don't think you see much of James Garner. I know you've just said David Moyes likes what he does, but if we can bring better quality in than James Garner, whether Moyes likes it or not, Moyes will have James Garner out the team, because personally, I don't think he's got enough in his locker to propel us up that league where we want to be.
Well, yeah, that's what I've just said. I just don't think he plays next season, James Garner. I just do not think James Garner plays much next season. If you have
another 2 more in,
yeah, if you go and sign Ndidi, I think you would see every week Garner and Ndidi. I think you'd see Alcaraz in front of them, and I think you'd sort of trust Garner, because Garner can carry the ball, and he actually scores more goals than Ndidi, which is, wild for me to say. So I actually think you would see Garner pushing up that pitch. Garner guy I'm on about. I think you'd see him pushing up the pitch a little bit further, and Ndidi would be the anchor point.
Yeah.
The point I make, though, is that good enough? Do you get what I mean? Is that good enough? So do you go out and go, right, we need an absolute, a really not a top midfielder, because I don't think Everton can go and sign a top midfielder right now. I still don't think.
What you're saying is we need a midfielder with more flair.
We need someone that can do everything at a better level than what we've got. Because I agree, James Garner's not the answer. Garner guy is not the long-term solution. I haven't seen enough of Tim. I was on the fence about Charlie Alcaraz, but I think if you play him as a 10, I think he's a decent player in transition. And Ndidi is not the problem. So if you look at that team, for me, it's glaringly obvious we need people. This is just a name. I'm not saying sign him, but we need a Ross Barkley type player. Someone that will turn on the turn, can carry the ball through players, and can get a shot off at the end of it. We had it with James Rodriguez as well. Can turn, can pick a pass, or can score a goal. Everton need a player that can go and do that from midfield, because at this moment in time, everything we do is through balls or balls into the box or counter-attacking football. But you can't beat every team that way. And we saw it time and time again at times last season, where you'd have a gap in central midfield, and a midfielder wouldn't shoot from 20, 25 yards, wouldn't have a pop. And that's what we need, a player that will go, right, I'm going to have a crack there. I'm going to have a go. I'm going to try and score a goal from there. And we haven't got one.
So where'd you put Ndidi then? Because for me, we've got one in him.
Well, he's a winger. I leave him on the left. I leave Ndidi on the left. I'll put Charlie Alcaraz as the 10. I'll bring in a new right midfielder, and I'll bring in a new striker, because I just don't think Beto is the permanent solution. So
I'd rather see Alcaraz and die in the middle, but obviously we need to bring that many players in. If he has to play on the left, then so be it.
The only reason I say that is even when he's tried to play him in the middle, he has this natural thing of pulling over to the left-hand side. The only time I've seen him do anything other than sort of, even when he's played in the centre, he's gone over to the left. The only time I've seen that he hasn't is when he's played for Senegal and he's played on the right.
Yeah.
So
he can play anywhere really across there, can't he? Because he's got the skill to do it. And believe it or not, for the size of him, he's got the strength as well. He's not easily pushed off. And, I've seen games where Ndidi's nearly been on the floor and he's still come away with the ball with 3 players around him. So for a penetrating midfielder that we need, he's probably the best we've got. Whether he's on the left, whether he's on the middle, he's direct and he'll run at players and he'll take them on, and he's got the skill and he's got a shot in him as well. We've seen he's got a shot in him. But if you think he's going to be on the left, then we need quality We need one quality midfielder brought in for quite a big fee. Again, I totally agree. Your comparison with Ross Barkley, and I'm not saying I want him, but Ross Barkley, we have not got, apart from if Ndidi plays in the middle, certain similarities. But if you've got Ndidi on the left, we haven't got anyone in the middle, whether it be Ndidi if he comes in, whether it be Garner Guy, whether it be James Garner, whether it be Tim. We haven't got a player like Ross Barkley out of them 4 players there.
And that's the point, because people will sit here and go, well, Ross Barkley ended up becoming a 10. His best position was an 8. His best position was an 8. His best position was.
I think he went shit. When he got pushed up to be a 10.
He did, because he couldn't pass. He couldn't think and he couldn't pass. Whereas if
he was too far up the pitch, wasn't he? But if you give him the ball in the centre circle and he's got someone to pick out or someone to run at, to take a player on, when he's got time to think about what he's going to do, that's where you get the best of it. Like a Ross Barkley, not him, but who would say we want to sign him, but a Ross Barkley type player is better if he picks the ball up in the centre circle.
Yeah, and this is where I think we have the problem. So I get signing Ndidi, I do, but in my mind, he's a Garner replacement. So if he's and I mean Garner guy, I need to start doing that. Garner guy rather than Garner replacement. He's a Garner guy replacement. So from Ndidi, you need another midfielder, that ball carrier, that one that will turn on a pivot, will beat a man, will shoot from 25 yards. I think there is a person there that could potentially be moulded into a central midfielder, but I don't think he's quick enough, and that's Dwight McNeil. I don't think he's quick enough.
No.
But I think he has those qualities. He's not scared to run at people. He's not scared to shoot from distance, and he's not scared to pass the ball. His issue is he is not a central midfielder, but that's the sort of thing we need. If Ndidi is floating, Alcaraz can float, because we know the two of them interlink. Alcaraz has played on the left for Everton as much as he's played in the centre. I think he made 9 appearances. He started 4 games on the left-hand side, or come on as a sub for Ndidi a few times on the left. So we know the two of them can swap. So it sounds weird. It doesn't matter to me who starts on the left, because they'll interchange. I'm not. And I think you'd also see that Mikalenko, like Baines used to, will overlap on the left. So it doesn't matter to me, the whole structure around that left midfield, or even the right midfield. The point I make is you need someone that will do something different in Everton's midfield, and I just don't think we've got that. And I also, just to put it out there, in that case, Matty Longstaff is not the answer. And
he's not because we're not linked with him.
Sean Longstaff is not the answer. You're a dickhead. So that's the point I'll make on the midfield. I think it's a really, really key area for Everton. I really like. Everyone's going on about a striker. We're all going on about strikers. Me, you, everyone. Everton, we need a striker. We need a striker. I genuinely think we need a goal-scoring central midfielder, probably more than a striker. And because Decore was not that. He was a central midfielder, he was a ball carrier, and he was an engine, but he didn't score enough goals in the end. You need a Decore that will score you goals.
We need an all-round better quality midfielder, don't we?
Yeah. And that's the problem, John. They're not cheap, and I don't know where one is.
Yeah. Normally, when you look at some positions in the squad and on the pitch, you can sort of look at some clubs abroad and even in the Premier League, and you can think, well, yeah, he'd do a job. And when you look at what we need in the middle, no names that really roll off the tongue, is there?
The only one that I think, and by the way, there's no way Everton could sign him, so just saying. But the only one that reminds me of that is Morgan Gibbs-White.
Yeah, it won't happen.
Yeah, exactly. And he ain't going to come to Everton. But that's the sort of player that I think Everton need, a ball-carrying central midfielder who can score you a goal. Now, Everton could also because a lot of people are absolutely pillaging this club at the minute. But Everton could potentially look for someone like, I don't know, Damsgaard from Brentford. You know, he's a player, ball carrying, central midfielder, can score you a goal. He's probably more attacking minded. I don't think he's a 10. I think he's an 8. He's the sort of player that Everton could move for. Again, I don't think he'd be cheap. You could also go for, if you wanted to look at somewhere like Bournemouth, who are also losing a lot of players, you could possibly look for someone like, and he's had his injury issues, and obviously, he was very poorly for a long time. But you could look at someone like David Brooks, who can sort of play on the right and also play in the centre of the park. You could look at that. I'm quite interested to see what Moyes does in that area, because if you remember, all of Moyes' teams have had that sort of midfielder. Paqueta is probably an 8. Some people might say he's a 10, but I think he's an 8, and he'll score you a goal. David Moyes had Tim Cahill and Mikel Arteta, that in my opinion were both really 8s, but Tim Cahill could play as a 10. Mikel Arteta went from the right wing into the centre of the park. Again, goal scoring, ball carrying midfielder. Moyes loves them. He absolutely loves them.
He'll be working overtime to get that sort of player in, and I think it's the old saying, isn't it? Everton are going to have to put their money where their mouth is for that quality player from the midfield. They're going to have to go big, but how big can we go? Because we need to go big on a striker, and we need a right winger. It's the centre of the park, it's the right wing, and it's the centre forward for me. And we're going to have to spend the money on that, you know. And from the 1st of July, we're hoping there's movement. Again, we've spoke about the loan deals where we think they'll slot in and the free transfers. But Everton are going to have to go ballsy and go balls deep for the sort of midfielder that we're talking about that we need.
Yeah. The other midfielder that Everton have briefly been linked with is Christian Eriksen.
No, for fuck's sake.
Now,
no legs again.
It's no legs, not really a ball carrier. Will get you a goal, but for me, I don't know. I saw it in the papers today, and I was like,
"That's lazy journalism, mate. I'm not being funny. That's not going to happen. Surely that won't happen." And listen, this is no disrespect to Christian Eriksen. I mean, the recovery he done after what happened is not short phenomenal, you know. And it was great to see him playing football again, and you know, playing for Man United again. You know, again in the Premier League, because when you're seeing the pictures, and we're not going to go into that too deep because it was so sad. When you're seeing them, you didn't think he'd play football again. I just don't think he's been the same player since, which I get. Obviously, I don't think you are going to be. But for what Everton need, and again, no disrespect to Christian Eriksen, he's not the answer. He's not the answer.
So I'm going to throw one last name. And look, I'm throwing names at people that we could potentially sign. A loan move for Mason Mount.
He come out and said he was happy where he was and he's not looking to leave. But again, it's if the club want to push him out. I'm not a lover.
No. It's such a difficult area for me, and that's the problem. We've said it before, like we've said it loads of times. I just don't. We've got these four loan options, you know, and we're going to need to use them. And it's just, are we going to go and get players that potentially could come into Everton pretty quickly and do a job, deliver, almost walk into this team and do something? Because
that's what we need.
It is exactly what we need. But I don't think they're ready, available, unless you go and buy them. So whatever loan moves you make, I think they're going to be players that are begging for game time. And that's where I think maybe a Mason Mount could happen. I mean, I don't know. Man United fans might like him, but by all accounts, I don't think they do. He didn't have a good season last season, but he spent a lot of it injured and was recovering for most of it. We obviously know the job he did at Chelsea, and before that, the job he did at Derby. I'm on the fence about a Mason Mount. I'm throwing names out there, but someone in that Everton recruitment team is going to have to find us, in my opinion, a goal-scoring central midfielder more than any other position. Like, it sounds ridiculous, but I actually, if it come out tomorrow that Calvert-Lewin has signed a new deal with Everton, as long as that money is spent in the centre of the park and on a right winger, I'll be fine. Because I think Beto scores 10 goals. I think he scores 10 goals. And I think you're fine with that as long as you've got a midfielder that can score you 8 goals. You've got an Ndidi that scored 8 goals. You've got a Charlie Alcaraz that might score 5 or 6. You've got centre halves that will pop up for corners and score you maybe 3 or 4. You've got wing backs that might get 1 or 2. I just think this team is crying out for goal scorers, and we haven't fucking got any in any real positions.
Well, I love you dearly, but I can't agree with you with the Dominic Calvert-Lewin shout, because you've just said this team's screaming out for goal scorers, and Calvert-Lewin's not one of them. So, you keep Calvert-Lewin at the club, and you're not too fussed about the strike coming in. You want to concentrate more on the middle. So you've got Beto or Calvert-Lewin up front. If Beto gets injured, you've got to rely on Dominic Calvert-Lewin to score you the goals. No.
Yeah, but that's not the point I made. The point
I know
I made,
the point you're making. We're getting goals from everywhere else in the team. I know that. But we still need to set. Go on.
The point I made, if Everton, I don't want to keep Calvert-Lewin. Like, I would rather go out and get a striker. But at this moment in time, as I sort of said it yesterday, I don't trust Everton aren't going to re-sign Calvert-Lewin. I just don't. I do not trust that Everton aren't going to do it, because I don't understand why it's not been announced that he's leaving. I don't get it. Doesn't make sense to me. I suspect Michael Keane is going to sign a new contract. I suspect Calvert-Lewin is going to sign a new contract. And I suspect that Gana Guy is going to sign a new contract. I'm convinced, because they haven't gone already. And if that is the case, I don't think Everton go and spend 30, 35, 40 million on a striker. I just don't think they do it this summer. I think they probably try and go with what they've got until the summer. And I think they go with it. I think they go and buy a really decent right winger and a really decent centre midfielder. I don't agree with it, because I'd rather the money be spent up front and in the midfield. But I just don't think David Moyes does it.
Well, if he's allowed to do it, he will. But again, it's the old question, isn't it? How much have Everton got to spend? Now, me and you have got a ballpark figure that we think, and we practically agree on it, don't we? Probably between 80 and 100 million quid.
Yeah.
Now, you go and get the midfielder that we've spoke about on this video for 33 minutes and not coming cheap. You're looking at 40 million.
Yeah.
Then you need a right winger. We're probably going to have to spend money there.
I think that'll be a loan. I think it'll be a loan.
Yeah, but it's Everton in a terrible predicament now, because we've lost this many players. And don't get me wrong, the players we've lost were shite. Let's be honest about it. They weren't good enough to take us forward. We've watched Jesper Lindstrom for a season. We watched fucking Jack Harrison for 2 years. Shit. Any right winger. David Moyes does not entertain players like that. So even if it's a loan deal, you're going to see better quality on the right than Jack Harrison and Jesper Lindstrom. That's sorted. It's the middle for me. I agree with you. It's the middle. But I also want that attacker as much as I want that player in the middle as well, because I can't be doing with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, mate.
The ideal thing for me would be almost, if Everton have got 100 million quid to spend, they get a loan on the right-hand side and they go and spend big on a striker and a central midfielder. Like that would be my, because I think you can cover the other positions with loans. I really do. Me and you have sat here and we are going to do a video about our predictions. It'll be interesting to think about where we're going to finish. But when you look at the Everton team currently, I think we would all agree that I think Everton could probably finish between 8th and 10th, maybe 8th and 12th. I think Everton are going to be in that gap. But I think if you do get a top striker or, a good striker, and you get a good goal-scoring midfielder and you bring in a good winger, then Everton can push for Europe because defensively, you've said it yourself, John, defensively we're sound. Centre of the midfield, really, with Ghana, we're okay. Scoring more goals will be better. I just don't see how we do it in 1 year, and that's the fucking problem I have with Everton. It would not surprise me if those fuckers sign Calvert-Lewin on another deal, and it will piss me off because I don't want it, but it just wouldn't surprise me. I do not trust him.
Well, listen, the majority of the transfer kit is going to be spent on a striker and a midfielder, isn't it? Let's be honest about it. And I quite agree with what you say about the right-hand side. It's going to be a loan deal or it's going to be a free. And then you're probably going to get the rest of the frees and the loan deals that we're entitled to make the numbers up for the players that we've lost. But as you're quite right with what you say, what I've pointed out before, goalkeeper, we've probably got one of the best goalkeepers in Europe in the Premier League, in my opinion. Yeah. Defensively, we're sound. We've seen that with David Moyes come in, Jake O'Brien at right back, slotted in. It's the final third for me. It's that final third that needs the quality addressing and bringing in, and probably where the majority of the budget is going to go in that final third.
Yeah, agreed. Right. Well, it's been an intense debate, this one. I've enjoyed it. I love it when we have these debates, because I think people get to see the side where me and you don't always agree, and we're almost flippant to each other. But the facts are, no matter what me and John say, we always fucking love each other. Like, John will ring me in 2 minutes' time and say, "I love that video." He loves that video, and he will. I know he will. Like, it happens after every video, but it's especially good when we have heated debates, and I've enjoyed that heated debate so much that I'm going to ask you all to subscribe, and we'll throw out more heated debates when we talk about our league position, and John predicts us to finish in 17th spot. The sound appears to also be better, everyone, so that's a positive. So we seem to have fixed the issue. Yeah, look.
And for anyone who was sitting in one of the 119 seats that have now been taken up in some way, shape, or form at the new stadium, I hope you have been moved to somewhere else in Bramley-Moore, because it's just a fucking piss take, isn't it? It should have been bigger anyway. Now, I know it's only 119 seats, but 119 seats is 119 seats. How have they got that so wrong when the planning permission and the ground's being built now for as long as what it has, and a month before the season starts or whatever it is, they're now saying they've had to cut the capacity? No. When was the last time you heard a Premier League club at a new ground do that? Fucking shite.
Hey, listen. Up the toffees. That's all I can say, John. Up the toffees. Right, look. 38 minutes. That was a long video. You need to go now and have your dinner probably and sort your little one out. It's my anniversary tonight, so I'm off to football.
To dribble around the box before he shoots.
Brilliant.
How many years is it now?
So in terms of marriage, it is 4.
Is it 4 years since I was bladded in your wedding and fell over and banged my head? Yes, it was, John. Jesus Christ, I thought it was 2.
No, 4 years. It was the fruit and flowers anniversary today. So I bought her some bedding plants,
an apple,
a bouquet of flowers, and some fruit cake for her anniversary. It was tremendous.
What did she get you?
A wallet
made of orange peel.
Yeah, it dissolves. I use it for fucking lemon on my pancakes.
Right, folks, don't forget, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. I'm sure we will be back tomorrow with another news show for you gorgeous people. Thanks very much for the comments as well from last night's video. Again, spot on, no negative comments, all brilliant. Thank you. Keep watching. We will be back soon.
I think you're ugly. See you later. Tra.